Hello, welcome back to another episode of Breaking It Down with Steve and Laurie. We plan on talking about kind of a difficult subject tonight. We're not going to get political, we're not going to pick sides, or we're going to talk about light and uh, positivity and ways that you can get to tap into that. It will counteract the feelings of sadness and helplessness and anger that you might feel. And I haven't said it yet, but we're talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination um, and the effects that that's had on society as a whole and each of us individually, probably. So, yeah, so that's our topic for tonight, and we'll turn it over to Lori.
So I don't think I can bring light or positivity to this topic.
Yeah. Sorry, that was not. It wasn't my intention to imply that there was anything positive about this. I'm saying bring positivity and light to a dark and divisive subject. To counteract that darkness in the world, you can do that with love.
And I think what, you know, I had mixed feelings about talking about this, and it was really important to Steve because I've just been carrying a lot of heavy sadness about it since I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was until the day he died. And then one of my clients came in and said, "Did you hear Charlie Kirk died?" And I hadn't, and I didn't know who he was. And of course, I found out a lot since then. But yesterday, I had two flat bike tires, and I had to push my bike for an hour and a half. And it's a really heavy bike, and it struck me on the walk home that on a physical level, that's what I'm carrying emotionally, is just this heaviness of sadness and sorrow. And
Just that slog was
yeah, that
metaphorical for
slog.
what you were feeling in your heart.
That's a good word for it. That's what it felt the whole hour and a half. And I've heard that in a lot of people, including him and I, just trying to process all that sadness. And I think
Well,
what's,
and
yeah.
in addition to the sadness, the again we talk about ripples, the ripples of hatefulness and divisiveness that have come about because of it.
Right. And so here's a couple thoughts that I processed for myself and I wanted to share with you is, to me in life, always the standard is what's healthy. Not, I think what's healthy exceeds right or wrong. Because if something is healthy, it's living above a level of right or wrong. And it's, as a therapist of 30 years working with people, it's very unhealthy to be celebrating somebody's assassination. That's been so much of the sadness for me is, you can certainly disagree with somebody, but to let yourself be unbridled in that way is just harmful to yourself and certainly to everybody around you. And the other thing that really struck me is what's healthy is you can never make yourself better than by making someone less than. And you have to have a strong sense of self in life to say there's certain people I can hear and there's people I can't that are just toxic to me or harmful to me, and you don't listen to that. Like, you don't allow that to be so impactful to your sense of self. I mean, my entire career as a therapist, I've heard umpteen criticisms of therapy, and I I chose not to allow that to influence my belief of which is therapy, when it's done well, is profoundly impacted people in the positive. But okay, people are entitled to those opinions. You just can't dwell on something so much that it unroots your entire sense of self. But back to the sadness him and I had mentioned, which I've seen in lots of people, is they don't know what to do with it. And one, you got to get in touch with that it's sadness and it's not just anger, right? Because anger can be on the surface and sadness runs deep. And yeah.
Men, in my experience and reading, and men seem to, anger is a safe emotion for men, societally and personally. So, how can you encapsulate quickly how does a person get below that surface level, and name more emotions? I've seen the chart with all the faces. Oh, that's, I'm feeling that and that and that. How? What are some tools that people could utilize to dig a little deeper?
Well, I've always said that anger's the MRI of our emotions. So anger's when you know you're feeling anger because it's so energizing, right? Anger feels like you're doing something, versus sadness makes you just want to slow down and all hands on deck and conserve your energy. So that's why people feel comfortable doing anger. But anger's just the yellow light that's saying, slow down. There's something deeper happening here for you. And that's when you got to pause and say, okay, I'm really angry, but I'm going to explore this and what's my anger really about? And also there's a big saying in therapy of, just sit in your emotions. And I don't say that to people because emotions are energy. So emotion needs motion. And so when you recognize, like, you're sad, like he was mentioning earlier, you got to do something with that sadness, right? You have to be kind to other people. You have to be kind to yourself. You need to say, okay, for me, I go to what's healthy here. What's a healthy way for me to engage this, interact with this? Well, for me, it was definitely to not go to the political side, because to me, the issue on the table was a 31-year-old man was assassinated. So, and then a lot of the hate that came after that. So to me, I thought, okay, I want to counter that with my own sense of kindness and being patient and listening and not getting into a tailspin of politics. And if other people need to do that, as long as it's healthy, that's their way of enacting emotions. We do a lot of activities as it is, but I notice when I'm sad, I really ramp up long bike rides and long walks and, just sitting with the dogs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that activity.
Creative things.
Yeah, that fires off endorphins that help raise your mood, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking about the anger piece for men, and I'm having trouble pulling up exactly what you said, but you gave a perspective that was new to me. I thought that men went to anger because it's acceptable. In sports, get mad at it, get mad at the other team, because it creates that energy that you were talking about. So I thought that men went there because it was safe and it was acceptable on a societal level, but you had more to say about that.
Yeah, I think men have been taught that that's that's a manly emotion, right? But in reality, anger for anybody is saying, I'm really spinning on this, so I need to figure this out for myself. Has a boundary been crossed? Am I in a toxic situation? And think about it, especially for a lot of men, it's hard to be vulnerable, right? And the softer emotions are vulnerable. It's more vulnerable to say, gosh, I'm really sad, and I'm grieving, and I'm, you know.
Well, and I did finally remember what you said, and you said anger is doing something, and that appeals to men because generally, you know, men are doers. Men, that's where men get in trouble with their wives when the wife just wants empathy, and the man wants to fix and do and make it better. And so, yeah, that was the facet that was interesting to me. Another reason that men might go to anger is because it feels like they're doing something, besides getting an ulcer.
Well, and you are doing something, right? That's why with the other emotions, I put them into motion. Like, yes, there's a time and place to sit and journal and recognize and meditate, but there's also a time and space to be doing something with those emotions, so that all that energy can be expended.
Yeah, but sitting with an emotion does appeal to me, that term, because I run from things. So it reminds me to be present with it, and maybe that's a better way to put it. Not to sit with it and be buried by it, but let it in. You know, experience it, move through it. That's another thing that I've heard.
Yeah, move through it.
Don't sit with it necessarily.
Because people get stuck
with,
there.
Yeah, And sitting is a perfect, again, a kind of a good metaphor for the wrong thing to do. Don't just sit and stew.
Right. And
engage it, move through it, and when you're moving through something, you're getting to the other side. And the other side is probably similar to grieving: acceptance,
loss,
forgiveness.
What am I going to do with this sadness? And in a relationship, if your partner comes to you and they right off the bat they're mad about something that happened, you know, as long as they're not taking it out on you, you know, let them start there, and then as they express some of that, then you can say, so what else do you think you're wrestling with here?
And not surprisingly, you're very good at that, and I'm very bad at it. You know, we'll talk about family of origin stuff in the future, but in my life, anger, you know, was something you ran from. It was something, you know, someone else's anger, because it was dangerous. So you ran from it, you hid from it, you smoothed it over, you did everything you could to get away from it. So me building a skill to mirror yours of being empathetic and just listening, not trying to fix, not offering solutions, has been very useful. And so...
well, and in closing, he's bringing up a really good point about there's a big difference in life between anger and rage. Rage is actually a criminal misdemeanor, and rage is harming yourself, someone else, or property. And if you're sitting on a bus and you say to somebody across the aisle, listen, bitch, you know, I don't want you to sit in that seat, that's rage, because that's an aggression and hostility that becomes a threat. So lots of people label anger when it's really rage. Anger is just intensity, right? It says I'm mad, and it's got a lot of intensity to it.
Because anger can be healthy.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it's a normal emotion.
Sure.
And so that's a great distinction.
Right.
Keep it in the anger arena, not the rage.
Anger doesn't have to make someone else wrong. It doesn't have to blame somebody. It doesn't have to take it out on somebody. Anger just says, I feel really strongly about this and I'm upset, right? And that's why you don't take it personally. You don't, if he's mad about something, I'm not automatically going to go to, oh, he's mad at me, unless he tells me, right? But that's the level of processing emotions in a mature way, to say, just because I feel something doesn't mean somebody did something wrong. And that's just a healthy sense of self that doesn't enmesh yourself with other people's opinions and feelings.
So back to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down, but to kind of bring it back, don't let your anger turn to rage. Do something. Feel your feelings. Identify them. Feel them, but move through them is important. And again, something I feel very strongly about is ripples. Put some kindness into the world. Put some love out into the world. Do all the processing you need to do. Don't be falsely loving.
Yeah.
To avoid dealing with your emotions, but just it can be very simple things, but just letting someone else go ahead of you when they're trying to get into traffic, or opening a door for someone, or a kind word or a smile. Just someone that that's on the other side of your political beliefs, just say, dude, I hate this, and I'm so, it makes me feel really bad that this happened. I'm sad. Let them know that you're not hating them for it on either side.
Because human to human, you can still grieve the loss of a young man being assassinated.
No matter what his beliefs, right? No one should be killed for what they think. So go out and put some kindness into the world. Do some counteracting to this evil that's been brought to our doorstep in this country.
Yeah.
So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.